So I grew up in a little town called Front Royal, Virginia. It's about 70 miles west of Washington, D.C. And in Front Royal, Virginia, there is one public library. This library is called Samuel's Public Library, and it is technically a private nonprofit entity that functions as the public library for the county. What this means is that it's not fully funded by the county government, but it does receive funds that it relies on. A group of 53 people, namely from St. John's Catholic Church in Front Royal, have been bombarding the public library with requests for reconsideration for books that they deem pornographic and inappropriate for children, and they say they're all in the children's section. Some of the books are not in the children's section. They are appropriately shelved in the adult and young adult section. Other books, like Plenty of Hugs and Tango Makes Three and Prince and Knight, are shelved in the children's section because they're picture books. What do all these books have in common? They're LGBTQ plus books. And there are some that aren't. Some of the books they've challenged deal with race issues. Some of the books explain what IVF is. Some of them just have witchcraft in them. Yes, this is the same Catholic Church that ran a person trying to start like a fortune-telling business out of town a couple years ago. Yeah, great. The public library has already made some concessions to the Board of Supervisors to try and get their funding. Their director resigned, and they made two new types of borrower cards. One in which you can only check out things from the juvenile section, and one in which you can only check out things from the juvenile and young adult section, so your parents can choose what is best for them. Newsflash, parents have always been able to monitor what is on their child's library account. This story is pretty personal to me because I grew up in Front Royal. I grew up going to Samuel's. I grew up going to St. John the Baptist Roman Catholic Church. I identify as queer, and I work in libraries. If you live in Warren County or any of the surrounding counties, you can contact the Board of Supervisors to let them know you don't agree with them not releasing their funding, and you don't agree with them taking books off the shelves that they don't agree with. Check out savesamuels.org. There's some nice FOIA requests of these books and some clips from some of the Board of Supervisors. Maybe we'll get into that in a later video of what they've said about this, because it's really something. And even if you don't live anywhere near where any of this is happening, if you have a public library in your town and you don't have a library card, sign up for one. Go get one. It is most likely going to be free, and it is one of the easiest ways to show support for your public library in your town.
So I can open one more. So I'm gonna love you right, no matter what they don't like. 'Cause baby, what we do, it ain't always black and white. I don't care what they say, I'm gonna break away. Won't be afraid to love. So I'm gonna love you right, no matter what they don't like. 'Cause baby, what we do, it ain't always black and white. I don't care what they say, I'm gonna break away. Won't be afraid to love.
I just wanted to update you on some of the stuff going on with the Samuel's Public Library situation.
If you didn't watch that full video, I need you to go back and watch it. My last couple of videos have been about what's happening in Front Royal, Virginia, with Samuel's Public Library versus the Catholic Church and the Warren County Board of Supervisors. On October 1st, the library funding will run out because the Catholic Church and its parishioners has inundated the library with requests for reconsideration for hundreds of LGBTQ books on the shelves. They've deemed them pornographic. They're not. And just this past week, the group that is trying to clean up Samuel's went after the person that I'm stitching. They went after their son in a really, really horrible way. People in the group that are trying to save the library have reached out to Washington Post, and they've gotten crickets. If you have any media connections, please reach out to the people at savesamuels.org and try to get the story.
Isn't hard when you've got a library card. That's right, fun isn't hard when you've got
If you've seen any of my past videos, you'll know I've been talking about Samuel's Public Library and the book challenges and the book banning and the library defunding that's happening there. This is happening all over the country. Public libraries are in battles against groups like Moms for Liberty to get queer content out of libraries. One of the supervisors in Warren County gave $20,000 to a campaign consultant, and he ended up being like a spokesperson for this Clean Up Samuels group. No, she didn't recuse herself from the vote to withhold funding. But she is currently running for the 31st District of the Virginia House of Delegates race in November. So this is my plea to make sure you're registered to vote and to vote in every election. Research your candidates, research what's going to be on your ballot. State and local elections matter.
Joanna Artone. In a recent report by Samuels, it showed that close to 20,000 people walked through their doors in a month's time.
A year's time, I
They hosted many
misspoke.
programs and answered thousands of questions from patrons. The public library is essential to this community, from story times and programs for kids to notary services for adults. They provide free Wi-Fi and computers to those who may need it. It is a place that people can go to get out of the rain or snow or days like today where there's a heat advisory. You can print and copy things. You can check out a laptop or a mobile hotspot. With your library card, you have access to ebooks and multiple databases. Defunding means the community loses access to necessary services. Public libraries represent the public, and that means all members of the public. I assure you there are LGBTQ youth in this county. I would know because I was a closeted gay kid in this county. And those kids are watching you vote against their very existence. That is not protecting the kids. It is actively harming them. Queer youth deserve to see themselves represented in the literature at the public library. Children of queer parents should be able to see their family represented, and they should not be segregated to another section. I implore you to release the full funding of Samuels Public Library without removing books from the shelves. Show the world that the Warren County community standards are to be welcoming and accepting. You may just save a kid's life.
So that was my statement last night because I didn't even get there in time to get in the room to the Warren County Board of Supervisors meeting because there were people from Clean Up Samuels there from 9 o'clock in the morning, and they took 14 of the supposed to be 20 slots, but there were 18 slots available for speaking during the public comment time. During this time, a lot of the people in the Clean Up Samuels group talked about how they're scared their 4-year-old is just going to stumble face first into pornography at the library, easily accessible in the children's section, which is not true. They also talked about how all of the library supporters have been bussed in by George Soros. That was a recurring comment that was made. None of us actually live or have ever lived in the county. And while I don't currently live in the county, I was born and raised there. I spent 24 years of my life in that county. I went to high school. I spent my entire K through 12 education in that public school system. I went to the church that's doing all of this. I went to that library. And I've spent years working with kids in the county as well. Immediately after I had that comment and I was giving my name to the person that was taking the names, there was a kid that recognized me from the time that I have volunteered at my karate club. They are now older. It made me feel really old, but it also put a face to this fight. I've already been really invested in this fight because it is important to me being my hometown. But now knowing a kid that I've known since they were 4 years old is also in this fight and it is affecting them just makes it so much more of an issue for me. I also say they are actively harming kids, not just by not giving them representation, but if you've seen some of my other stitches from a couple days ago with Donna's son, and how this group has attacked her son, and that is not being talked about enough by any of these national news outlets. The library is starting to get some more momentum in their coverage. We were covered by The Guardian. We were covered by Book Riot. I believe, I'm not sure, I haven't seen any Washington Post articles, but it's rumored that they might be covering it. But anyone out there on TikTok, if you can look into this situation at Samuels Public Library and what this Catholic Church is doing in this town and what they have done before in this town to its businesses and to its people. I'm going to tag Donna in the video so you can get into contact with her. And I will say it's not the entire Catholic Church, but it is a radical group within the Catholic Church. There were 4 speakers who spoke last night in support of the library, 3 of whom are from the Save Samuels campaign, and one of whom was a mother of people in the Catholic Church, and she got a group together who also supported the library getting their full funding, no questions asked. They don't want any of these books removed. They understand that it is their responsibility to check what their kids are checking out at the library. So I just want to clarify that there are people at that church that are fighting with us. But there are also a lot of people in that church that are fighting against us. And those are the ones that need to be looked into. This book promotes the LGBTQ agenda to children. It promotes the LGBTQ theme, which is not appropriate for children. Presents gay/lesbian relationships to young children. Overt LGBTQ propaganda aimed at the youngest children to encourage them to embrace a lie. This book discusses same-sex romance and transgender topics. This book discusses LGBTQ plus themes, which is not appropriate for a children's book. This book talks about a same-sex crush, which is not appropriate for children to read. This book talks about LGBTQ plus topics and is inappropriate for kids. Abnormal sexuality treated like it's normal. The homosexual content. This book introduces same-sex attraction to young children and breeds confusion. This is just a handful of the over 800 forms that Samuels Public Library has received in request for reconsideration. They've changed the narrative to make it about pornography in the library or funding, but these are their original words. Go check them out on. When teens are just starting to discover themselves and sexuality, they do not need conflicting and amoral LGBTQ plus themes that are contrary to nature and the natural law. This book is based on a fundamentally false premise that homosexuality and same-sex marriage are normal. No, they're not. Graphic novel normalizing homosexual relationships, targeting young teens. Somebody's on here now saying, protect our kids' heart. LGBTQ youth consider suicide at 3 times the rate of heterosexual youth. 70% of LGBTQ youths have poor mental health. I want the children of our community to be thriving. Smiley face emoji. I'm not kidding, that's what's written. Why would queer youth be considering suicide more when people tell them they're not natural and wrong?
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
Say push.
This book is not appropriate, especially for children and young adults, and is grooming them into the LGBTQ cult. It challenges the traditional role of marriage, and this is the book about 2 worms. This book is grooming children into an abominable culture of perverse sexuality. This book contains transgender kids and lesbian girls. This is unnatural and harmful to show to kids. Homosexual parenting, transgender children, suggestion of sexual exploration by children within the same gender. This is disgusting, unnatural, and dangerous to kids. So that last one is about Kenzie Kickstarts a Team, which is a Derby Daredevils book. I read it a couple years ago. I'm pretty sure she just has like a crush on one of her friends or like somebody in her grade, which is normal. ALA releases preliminary data on 2023 book challenges. Let's see what they say. Oh, look. Front Royal, Virginia, not Fort Royal. I've messaged ALA about this. We had another Board of Supervisors meeting last night. They voted to release the next quarter's funding, another 25%, so that they can get through the elections, saying, "Oh, we're funding the library. We're doing this. Don't buy it. Don't buy that at all." Dolores Oates, who is running for state delegate for Virginia, admitted to saying her first act when she gets elected to the state Congress, state House of Delegates, is to come after public libraries and public school libraries.
It's all